Welcome back to part 2 of our interview with Rivermen goaltender Eric Levine.
So just bring back a lot of memories that, honestly, I'll remember the rest of my life.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic. And Eric, just moving on to the playoffs, there's a ton of storylines in the playoffs and the postseason for the Peoria Rivermen on their route to the President's Cup. But one of the storylines that I think personally does not get mentioned enough is your storyline. You come and you get the first big win in the playoffs. You then have not the best game in game two, get pulled the rest of the way, and then you yield to Jack Barry. But you were so incredibly supportive of Jack Barry and enabling him to gradually get better and better and better and better every single game. And there's one key point I will always point to. It was game one of the finals, and this was after Roanoke had just put up two quick ones. Peoria did not look good at all. No one looked good. I believe it was immediate timeout. John Gee has everyone in the huddle. He's doing John Gee things, saying whatever needs to be said. And outside of it, there you are with Jack Barry, just talking with him, talking to him, trying to settle him down and get him back into the game. And all of a sudden, after that immediate timeout, I think it was late in the first period, you saw a seismic shift from that team for the rest of this series. So I think your role in making sure that Jack Barry was in the right place mentally, physically, and knew what to expect really, it doesn't get enough credit. It was really one of the unheralded things, or aspects, I should say, of that postseason. How was that? How did that dynamic come into play? And how did you really help him settle in and be the clutch playoff goaltender that he needed to be, not only in the finals, but in that entire playoffs?
Yeah, that's, the whole situation that had happened, as an older, mature player, I was able to remove myself from the situation and say, yes, everyone wants to play. Like, I wanted nothing more than to go out there and win, was it 7 games, and be the guy that like gets it done. But the reality was, after game two, he made the switch and it was Barry's net. And then for me, I was like, okay, I have two options. I can either be upset and, be selfish and say, well, I want to play, so I'm just going to like shut down and I'm just going to sit here and sulk in the corner. Right. Or B, I can then shift my role into helping the team win, because ultimately it's about the team. It's not about me. And I had no like inkling of wanting to be a selfish player. Like, I just wanted to help however I could. So Jack and I we have such a good relationship together as goalie partners, as friends. And I've played so long that I realized, okay, as a goalie tandem, it's never the other goalie that gets to decide who plays. So there's no sense in me being upset at Jack, because it's not like he inserted himself and said, "Oh, I'm going to take you out." Like, that's the coach's decision, right? So his job is to play. So he goes in and he's trying to do as good as he can in like the highest pressure situation, to come in and play your first playoff game in a game 3 against Pensacola. Is like, man, how difficult of a situation is that? If that was me playing, you feed off of the other goalie partner's energy, the vibe, whether it's verbal, whether it's just the aura that you present. If there's any sort of like jealousy, if there's any sort of like, I hope that you do poorly, you can pick up on that. Like, whether you are aware of it or not, the other goalie feels that. So for me, I wanted to provide the most like, hey, I am here to support you, and like, let's get this done together, because whether you win or I win, our team is winning. That's like the only thing that matters. So I have gotten to know Jack a lot, because he was here at the beginning of the year. He went up, he went down, but like, him and I were so good together. I know his game so well that I felt like my advantage was I was able to see things how he was playing and give him a couple quick tidbits and say, hey, take a little bit more ice. You're playing a little bit deep. I'd like to see you another half a step outside, because I think when you're aggressive, you're at your best. I think when you're confident and you're playing outside the crease and your feet are set, you're really, really good. So I remember that kind of first game, right? They had scored 2 early goals, and I can just kind of tell he was a little bit like doubting himself. And I'm like, man, you are so good. I don't think he realized how good of a goalie he was, but I think he just needed the mental reassurance that, hey, if I go out there and I'm still aggressive, even though we're down 2-0, like it's still early. And I told him, I was like, man, we're still in the first period. Like our team's going to score. This next goal is going to be pivotal. And all I want you to do is to be more aggressive than what you've been. Like I want you to stay a little bit further out, set your feet, make the next couple saves, and our team's going to start rolling. And Barry was like, I was so like, I was like so proud. Like I felt like he was like, I felt like it was like my kid out there. I was like, man, you are like way too good to doubt yourself. So just go out there, play well. At that point, he had already gotten us through Pensacola. He had already gotten us through Quad City. I was like, you like are in this moment because you belong here. And I just think as a goalie, if you have that little bit of like reassurance in your confidence, one save sort of kickstarts you into the whole game. And had that game gotten to be 3-0 or 4-0, we would have lost and the series might have been completely different. And so I felt like my job was just to kind of support him. And I know for a goalie, mental support and that reassurance is so much far superior than something that I could have said to him, like physically. I gave him a few things of like, be out, set your feet, but it was more like, hey man, like you got us here. Like you're going to get this done. Just you have to believe that like you're the goalie that's going to do it, because that's how I would approach it if I was in net. And sometimes as a goalie, you get so lost in like what's going on. And he's a younger goalie, right? He hasn't played a ton of games at this level. So for him to kind of, I think, kickstart into that gear, I just knew that once he settled in, he was going to be awesome. And like, my God, he was so good. And like that to me was the turning point of the whole playoffs. Like we easily should have lost that game. And he made 4 or 5 like unbelievable saves, especially that last one in the third period, diving back. Just he was so good. So I was just more proud to watch him. I was more proud that he had stepped up into that moment and have sort of defined himself as a championship level goalie, that I just was really there to like calm him down and just be any sort of support that I could, because that's exactly what I would want. And, again, it wasn't his decision to go in. That's the coach's thing. And I totally respect that Guy has enough confidence to take me out if I'm not playing good, because I was his guy all year. And it would have been easy for him to say, you know what, I'm just going to leave him in and I'm going to hope he figures it out, or I have to make a change, because in the short playoff series, you don't have time. It's not a 7-game series. You don't have time to work through if the guy's not going, right? And for other players, you can sit him a shift, you can put him on different lines. There's other ways you can kind of get guys going to like kickstart their game. But the nature of the position as a goalie, if like you don't have it in that moment, there has to be something to be done. And we were so fortunate that we had 2 quality goalies that he had the option to go to Jack. And it probably took a lot of courage for Guy to make that change, because in that moment he thought that was what's best for our team, and it paid off. And like at the end of the day, it's about the team win. So I was so happy to see Jack step up for him to have that moment. He's such a deserving goalie of that. And he was so supportive of me all year that it was only fair for me to give back that support to him. So like I was beyond happy to do it. And it wasn't anything where I felt, oh, I'm like sour and I'm upset. I was thankful to be a part of the team rather than worry about my status as the first or second goalie or whatever, because it doesn't matter. So it was just really cool to be a part of.
And thus, on such decisions and conversations, history is changed. And
absolutely.
Last question for you, Eric, because we only have about 3 minutes or so. So I got to get this last one in real quick. What are your off-season plans? Obviously, Midwest Goalie Academy underway with the collaboration with House of JMP. By the time this one airs, we'll be coming up on 4th of July. So very quickly, what are your off-season plans here in about 3 minutes?
Yeah, so I got my camps running. We started 2 weeks ago. So I do goalie camps all June and July. They've been great so far. So we're going to continue rolling all the way through early August. We got a ton of goalies that are slotted to come in. We do older kids camps. We do younger kids. We had an advanced camp for kind of, our college and junior guys. I do a girls camp, which is an awesome week to do. So a lot of different stuff happening. Goalie camps are busy. We have a collab with JMP. So these hoodies that he makes for our team, he's going to make custom Midwest Goalie Academy ones. Our colors are black and red. So they're going to be a black and red tie-dye. It's going to have our logo screen printed on. It's going to be really cool. So I'm going to give those to the instructors, and we're going to try to push his merch to some of the kids. So he's going to make some custom like limited edition ones, which are in the works and are probably going to be sent out here in a couple days. So that's really cool. My girlfriend and I just took a trip to Banff, Alberta for a long weekend. That was great. She got a job here in Chicago. She's a traveling nurse. So her contract's finishing up, and then come July, she's going to she just got a job here close to the house, so she's going to move in for a couple months. And then other than that, man, all my free time is either spent at the yoga studio that I work at, Grounded Wellness Center. We've got a lot of different stuff. I teach classes, I take class, I make a lot of organic cold pressed juice. We do a lot of cool stuff with the studio. So it's, either I'm either at home getting ready for camps, or I'm at the studio, and it's just an awesome way to spend the summer. And then anytime it's nice outside, I like to take my bike outside. I got a really cool like bike paths. There's a lot of like forest preserves kind of where I live. So I enjoy bike riding. So it's pretty simple for me. It's just either relaxing on the bike. It's either at the studio, it's at the, still at the rink teaching. So I like all three of those things, and it's kind of how I fill my summer.
Goaltender, naturalist, yoga instructor, and of course, budding broadcaster potentially, and goaltender coach. Eric Levine is the modern day Renaissance man. Eric, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to seeing you next year in whatever capacity that may be, in some form or fashion. Until then, have a great summer. Happy 4th of July.
You too, Ruffer. Thanks for the chat, man. Good to see you again.